Hello. In this video, we are going to look at the solution for challenge 2, which was to do better controls on the player animation with its key presses. All right, so first we think about how really when I press the A key, so I'm trying to move left, we do player.play run, so that was good. That should also be done on when I move to the right. So we'd say player.play parens quotes run as well. Notice how these are inside of those curly braces, so that's going to happen when I press the D key. So we didn't notice it because it was still running, so that was never really noticed. All right, so we will want to make it return to the idle animation when it needs to. So is key down the right function here? Is key press the right function? So you look back at the Kaboom documentation here, and we have all these different key things. So key release is really the best option here. So it registers when a certain key is released. So you give it a key, and then it's got this function here that happens. All right, so we should use the key release function. It's in two parameters, the string for the key, and then the callback function for what happens when this occurs. Now I could separate them up. So I could just start with A. Okay, so when I release the A key, then return it back to idle, and then copy and paste and all that. Or I could put an array right here. I'm trying to see. Yeah, it actually does recognize that we could use those square brackets. And this is what we have done in a previous tutorial. So I'm actually going to, move this here. That A, the quotes A, will actually go inside of square brackets because the square brackets are used for what's called an array or a list of things. So I can then say comma, quotes D. All right, so now when I have released either the A or the D key, anything that's in this list, then it will do the callback function. So then comma, parens, arrow, curly braces, enter to get inside. So what happens then when either of those keys are released? Then I take player.play parens quotes idle, so that the player will play the idle animation. And just kind of a note here, I'm only able to use the word player because that was a variable. That was, the word const, the keyword there, shows me I made that variable. So that's the only reason I'm able to say that at this place. You can't do that with every single character because maybe it just has a quotes string tag name. So in this case, we actually did have a variable though. Yeah, so that should make it so that when I stop moving, it returns back to idle. All right, so the interesting thing I see is that it doesn't really look like things are running. All right, so let's rethink this then. When should we do player.play run? When is it supposed to be constantly as I'm holding the A key down? Not so much. That kind of makes it look frozen. So we could almost use this key release idea. So I'm actually going to copy and paste this for when to start the run animation, except instead of using key release, I'm going to use key press. When do I want to start animations? It's, that very first moment when I click the button, not constantly like key down is doing here. So what about when I press anything in the list, A or D, then player.play run, and then delete them from the key down? That was not the right place. We got away with it for a little while, but we shouldn't start the run animation as you're holding the A key down. It should only be that very first moment. So that's why key press is the right choice here. All right, so now it runs, but you let go and it reverts back to the idle animation. All right, so we basically have what we want here. So the last part of the solution is to make him turn around whenever he's facing to the left. All right, so that is still going to be It's fine to put it inside of the key down function. You might wonder whether that's good or not, but yeah, that's okay. So then, all right, so when I go to the left, so actually start with the key down A. And the Kaboom documentation here, what can a sprite do? And I found, okay, I get a sprite component then. So it has this flip x function that I pass in. See, it's inside the parentheses. Pass in a Boolean. So I got to get my sprite first, my player. So player dot flip x, that's the function. And then I pass in a Boolean, so either a true or false. So when I'm moving to the left, yes or no, do I want to flip the x? Well, yes, so that's true. I do want to flip it. And I should say I do want it to be flipped. All right, so when I move to the right, all's good. But then when I move to the left, then it flips. And notice if I move again, it doesn't like reflip, so it's okay. I'm just telling it that yes, I do want it to be flipped. But then I try to move to the right, and now he's just moonwalking in the other direction. So then we do want to handle this on the key down D. So player.move, and then also player.flip x parens false. Do I want the x to be flipped? False. And when I move into the D. All right, so the flip x doesn't toggle it. It doesn't change it. It just says yes or no, should it be that way. All right, so now I really got my player moving the way I want it to. All right, we got jump going with the key press on space.